There are a number of issues that neither John McCain nor Barack Obama want to talk about. I have no problem talking about them. Over 5,000 physicians signed a letter stating that a single-payer healthcare system for our country is the only morally and fiscally responsible way to organize healthcare delivery in our country. Unfortunately, you won't get single-payer from either the Democrats or the Republicans. Vote Green. Nancy Pelosi took impeachment off the table, but the Bush administration is guilty not only of war crimes and torture, but of violation of the Constitution itself. The Democratic Congress should have rolled back the Patriot Acts, the Secret Evidence Act, the Military Commissions Act, but they've done nothing to protect our civil liberties. Instead, they've aided and abetted those corporations that helped the Bush administration illegally spy on all of us. The Green Party doesn't just want to end the wars and occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan and other countries around the world. The Green Party wants to bring all of our young men and women who are stationed in the more than 100 overseas bases home. I've had the opportunity to visit Detroit several times, and I've seen the manufacturing capacity of that town. Imagine if we put that capacity to work instead of bailing out those predators who are responsible for the crisis, the financial crisis that confronts us all. Imagine if that money had been used to put people to work in the auto industry, producing energy-efficient cars that no longer are reliant on fossil fuels. The Democratic-controlled Congress chose to give $700 billion to people who basically have been predators on the people of this country, on the treasury of this country. And instead of giving them $700 billion, which actually the Congress voted to give them over $800 billion, just imagine what that could have done as in infrastructure investment, greening of our technology, manufacturing green technology in this country, making sure that we invested in a clean, sustainable, energy-efficient future for our children in this country. It is clear that the buildup of the prison industrial complex is detrimental to the future of individuals in this country, especially those who have been targeted for special treatment, young Black and brown people. Sadly, the United States has become the incarceration capital of the world, and some people have figured out a way to make a profit off of that. The prison industrial complex should be dismantled. Racial profiling should no longer exist, should be outlawed in theory, in law, and in practice. The drug war should be eliminated. Intrusions of the federal government into our daily lives should be eliminated. It is intolerable that we have police shooting, and in many cases killing, unarmed young Black and brown men. It is intolerable that young Black and brown men, and even now families, find themselves sleeping on the streets. Poverty has been criminalized. Youth is being criminalized to the extent that we have more police in our schools than we do school nurses, for example, or those who are charged with making sure that the mental health of our students is intact. This all feeds into the criminal justice system, and unfortunately, some folks have figured out a way to make a profit from that. We should dismantle the prison system as we know it now and completely revamp it so that we have a system of which we can be truly proud and that delivers justice. I can't tell you why the Democratic leadership would not want the Katrina survivors to find a way back home to Louisiana. We've got Katrina survivors who have been strewn by their own government across the country. All the Katrina survivors really want is a way back home. Instead of spending $700 billion for predators on our economy, perhaps one way to have spent that money would have been to clean up the Gulf states, to make sure that people who want to go back home have a way back home. The United States has so much that it can give to the world and that it can give specifically to the continent of Africa. It doesn't have to give Africa AFRICOM, which is just another way of militarizing our foreign policy toward the African continent, stationing troops, pre-positioning military hardware on the continent for the further control of the natural resources and, of course, the human resources that are on that continent. The two-party paradigm in this country artificially constrains the subjects of debate. And for example, it denies the people of this country the opportunity to contemplate solutions to the problems that confront our country. Just imagine if we did in this country what Hugo Chavez is now doing in Venezuela. I read that Hugo Chavez is making available to everyone who now owns a gasoline-powered car to trade that car in for free and get a car that is run on CNG, which is natural gas. Just imagine we could do the same thing here in this country if we had the political will and if we had the right leadership. It is a convenient construct for the corporate political parties and the corporate press to portray the Green Party as a party that is only interested in environmental issues. But the Green Party's 4 pillars upon which they envision public policy being made also include grassroots democracy, peace, and social justice. And it was my record on all of the 4 pillars, environmental wisdom, grassroots democracy, peace, and social justice, that caused the Green Party to come to me. Actually, they've come to me several times to ask me to lead their national ticket. And this time I accepted their invitation. In 1992, it was the year of the woman, and women all over the country were saying we want our seat at the table. And then when I got to Washington, D.C., guess what? I found out that public policy is really made around the table. The only thing is, right now, we only have 2 chairs at the table. That's a chair that's occupied by the Democratic Party and another chair that's occupied by the Republican Party. But somebody who had a seat at that table already slipped the corporate lobbyists a key to the door. I figured out that the conversation would change dramatically if we placed another seat at the table. That seat would be occupied by the Green Party. The Green Party would take away the door and invite the people to come in so that they can actually see public policy being made. That's why it's important to vote green.